It was March 2024. In a schoolyard, 8-year-old Diego clings to his teacher, crying, and says, "Teacher, that man who killed me, I saw him at the supermarket." The teacher asks in shock, "Which man, Diego?" The child replied, trembling, "The man from my old life." This striking sentence made the teacher think it was a joke. But this sentence would solve a murder committed 35 years ago. It would place 8-year-old Diego reveal the true identity of an event and send him where he belonged, to prison. Diego Ramirez was born in May 2016 to an ordinary family in Guadalajara. His mother Maria was a nurse. His father Carlos was a construction worker. A middle-class family. A normal life. A life unaware of what was to come. Diego's first strange behavior began when he was 3 years old. One day, his mother was cooking in the kitchen. Diego was playing with his toys. He turned to his mother and said, "Mom, I'm not your first child." His mother laughed in surprise and said, "You're my only child." After his mother said this, he looked at her face in such a way. It was a look that should not have come from a 3-year-old child. And he said to his mother, "No, Mom, I lived with another mother. Her name was Maria too, but it wasn't you." Maria thought these things were just a child's imagination. Diego didn't stop. Every day he added a little more detail. There was a blue door in my old house. The neighbor's dog was called Big Chico. Our street was called Calle Libertad. My hair was longer and not brown, it was black. The family's first serious concern came when he was 4 years old. Diego started waking up crying from his dreams. In the middle of the night, he would scream, "Knife, knife." One night, his father Carlos picked Diego up. Trying to calm him down, he asked, "Son, who showed you a knife?" Diego who are you afraid of? His eyes still closed. Javier. Javier killed me in the town square. At night nobody saw. Carlos and Maria rushed to see a child. Psychologist Dr. Sofia Mendez had 6 sessions with Diego. Her report ended with this sentence: "The child shows symptoms of severe trauma. However, the source of this trauma is unclear. There are no signs of violence within the family. There is no bullying at school." Diego's old life is repeated in a regular pattern, and he gives the same details. This is different from normal imagination. With the family's permission, Dr. Mendez decided to conduct deep sessions with Diego. During one of those sessions, Diego told the full story for the first time. "My name is Gabriela Fernandez. I am 19 years old. I live in the town of Tala in 1984. My mother is Maria. My father is Jorge. I have a brother named Manuel." Diego was 5 years old when he said this. But his speech pattern and sentence structure had changed. When Dr. Mendez later had the audio recording from the session analyzed, linguists made the following comment: "The child is using old Mexican Spanish patterns that are no longer used in the 2020s. The use of vas instead of usted was common in the Jalisco region in the 1980s. Diego continued, "Javier and I had been together for 2 years. My family didn't like him. They said, 'That man is no good, Gabriela.' But I was in love with Javier. We were going to get married. Then I found out Javier was seeing another girl. Her name was Sylvia. She was from the neighborhood across the way. One night, it was July. The weather was very hot. Javier called me to the town square. 'We need to talk,' he said. I went. The square was empty. Everyone was at home. Javier was waiting in the darkness of the night, by the old fountain behind the square. 'I'm choosing Sylvia,' he said. 'But you know our secret.' I didn't understand. 'What secret?' Then Javier came closer to me and showed me the knife. He took it out of his pocket. Diego started crying here. Dr. Mendez wanted to stop the session, but Diego insisted. 'No, I have to tell it. Everyone needs to know. It can't stay a secret any longer,' he insisted. Diego didn't stop. Javier said, "You know my business, Gabriela?" I said, "What business?" He said, "The drug business." He said, "If you go to the police, I'll go to jail." Sylvia doesn't know. I recommend that the family investigate whether a person named Gabriela Fernandez was murdered in the town of Tala in 1984. At first, Maria and Carlos found this absurd and refused to believe it. But Diego's nightmares didn't stop. He woke up crying every night. At a loss, the family began searching online and found Guadalajara police archives accessed records from 1984. Victim Gabriela Fernandez. Age 19. Date of death: July 23, 1984. Place of death: Tala Town, Jalisco. Cause of death: Gabriela Fernandez's body was found on the morning of July 24, 1984, next to the old fountain behind the town square. 3 stab wounds. Estimated time of death between 11:00 p.m. and 1:00 a.m. The police report stated, "No witnesses in the vicinity. The victim's personal belongings were stolen. May be a robbery, murder." The victim's family stated that she had recently broken up with a boyfriend. Boyfriend's name: Javier Ruiz Moreno. Questioned: he was at home that night. Family confirmed. Suspect released. Blood samples were collected at the scene. They were stored for DNA testing. Since DNA testing did not exist in 1984, the samples were archived. The perpetrator was not found. The case was closed, recorded as unsolved. Maria began to tremble as she read the police report. Every detail Diego had described, every word was true. Carlos immediately consulted his lawyers. Lawyer Eduardo Silva assessed the situation and said, But if Diego really knows this much detail, and it matches the records, we have to go to the police." In October 2022, Maria and Carlos took Diego to the Jalisco State Police Headquarters. Detective Luis Herrera came out to meet them. Herrera had been a cop for 30 years. He specialized in cold cases. But this was something else entirely. Herrera on the case when he first heard it, he thought, there's a serious psychiatric problem in this family. Reincarnation. Really, he continued listening to the story and became increasingly disturbed as he heard more. Herrera had a private meeting with Diego. "Diego, can you describe Gabriela's house?" he asked. Diego closed his eyes. "Blue door. 2-story white house. There's a lemon tree in the garden. There's a small window to the right of the door. You can see the kitchen from there. There's a large wooden table in the living room. There was a lace tablecloth my mother made on it," he said. Herrera wrote everything down. "Can you describe Javier?" Herrera asked Diego. Diego thought for a moment. "He's tall. He has black hair. His mustache was thin. He has a scar on his left arm. He fell when he was a child. His eyes are brown. He has a deep voice. He smoked tobacco." Herrera asked for Javier's full name. Javier Ruiz Moreno. Born in 1965. Birthday March 14th. Pisces. Herrera thought it was impossible for an 8-year-old child to know so many details. He began his investigation. Check, Herrera looked at the old records for the town of Tala, Cale, Libertad Street. Gabriela Fernandez's family really did live on Cale, Libertad, a 2-story white house with a blue door. Old photos were available in the archives. Herrera became even more serious. Diego knew details that were impossible for him to know. He remembered seeing it at the supermarket. He asked Maria, which supermarket was it? "The Oxxo in Santa Maria. We go there often." Herrera's hair stood on end. Javier worked at that very supermarket. Herrera made an operation plan. He would confront Diego with Javier, but he also had to protect Diego. In November 2022, Herrera and his team went to the supermarket secretly. Diego and Maria shopped like normal customers. Javier was at the checkout. Maria and Diego got in line. Diego was holding Maria's hand. He was very nervous. When it was their turn, Javier looked up and saw Diego. And at that moment Diego's face started shaking. He whispered, It's Javier." Herrera heard this through the microphone. But that wasn't enough, of course. He needed proof. Herrera moved on to the second phase of the plan. He called Javier to the police station, saying there was a complaint, for an official statement. On December 3, 2022, Javier came to the police station. He seemed calm. Herrera asked Javier, "Did you know someone named Gabriela Fernandez in 1984? Javier's face changed. He started sweating. "Who? It's been so long," he said. Taking advantage of Javier's shock, Herrera suddenly asked, "Did you kill Gabriela?" Javier was shocked. "No, I didn't kill her, I swear. I was at home that night," he said, starting to tremble. Herrera then asked how Gabriela died. Javier replied, "I don't know. I heard she was stabbed, but I didn't do it," his voice trembling. Taking advantage of Javier's shock, Herrera said in a serious tone, "Did you know Gabriela knew about your drug business?" What drugs?" I, he replied, confused. Herrera said, "You were selling drugs in 1984, weren't you, Mr. Ruiz?" Javier, stunned, blurted out, "Who said that?" "Who? No one knows that." Herrera pressed Javier, "Gabriela knew, and you killed her to silence her." Javier panicked, No, I just scared him. I didn't want him to die. It was an accident." He began to defend himself. Herrera recorded it excitedly. But Javier quickly pulled himself together. I won't say anything, lawyer," he said fearfully. The statement was concluded, but Javier had made a mistake. He had said, "I didn't want him to die." After a long search, Herrera found blood samples collected in 1984, 38 years ago. Different blood samples had been found next to Gabriela's body. Gabriela's blood and the blood of another unknown person. There were no DNA tests in 1984, but the samples had been preserved. Herrera obtained a court order to take Javier's DNA sample, but the court compelled him. In January 2023, the results came back. DNA matched 99.97% compatible. The unknown blood at the scene belonged to Javier Ruiz Moreno. Javier was arrested, and the court process began immediately. Javier's lawyer tried to refute the DNA evidence. "My client only argued with Gabriela that night. Maybe there was a shove, which is why the blood ended up there. But he did not commit murder," he argued, and Javier's defense presented Herrera's statement. The defendant said, "I didn't want her to die. This is an admission that the death occurred." He retorted sharply to the lawyer. The trial lasted 6 months, and in May 2023, Javier broke down. He stood up in the courtroom and said, enough already. Yes, I killed her. I've been living with this for 38 years. Every night I see Gabriela in my dreams. Yes, I was selling drugs. Gabriela found out. I was going to marry Sylvia. Gabriela was going to ruin everything. I had to silence her, he said. But I didn't want to kill her, I swear. I just wanted to scare her. But the knife was in my hand and I couldn't control myself. I stabbed her 3 times. She fell to the ground. I looked into her eyes. She was dying. And I ran away. Yavil began to cry. Silence fell over the courtroom. Gabriela's family watched the justice that had come 38 years later. Javier Ruiz Moreno received a 35-year prison sentence for first-degree murder. After the trial, Diego's case resonated worldwide. Scientists, psychologists, and neurologists examined Diego. Diego slept peacefully for the first time after the trial. His nightmares stopped. It was as if he had completed a mission. Gabriela is happy now. Justice has been served. Gabriela's mother, Maria Fernandez, now 81, met Diego for the first time in June 2023. The meeting was an emotional moment. Maria began to cry as soon as she saw Diego. His eyes are just like Gabriela's, the same gaze. Diego hugged Maria and said, "I'm sorry, mother. I caused you so much pain. But now I am at peace." Javier got his punishment. Maria had waited by years. She cried every night for 38 years. Her daughter's killer was walking the streets. She thought justice would never come. But Gabriela had returned with Diego's mother, Maria Ramirez. At first it was very difficult. She wondered if he was her son or someone else's daughter. But she understood. Diego was her son. But he also carried Gabriela's memories. They had existed together, and she had to accept that. Months after entering prison, Javier completely broke down. He confessed to the prison chaplain, "I know Gabriela won't forgive me, but that child Diego, if he's Gabriela, please tell her. I'm so sorry. I thought about it every day, for 38 years. I married Sylvia. I had children, couldn't be happy, but I couldn't look at them. I always saw Gabriela's face. Now I'm here, where I deserve to be. Gabriela came back and found me. Maybe that's what justice means. You can't escape. Sooner or later, you pay the price," he continued. When Diego heard Javier's words, he said, "I forgive Javier, but I don't forget. He's paying for his mistake. I am Diego now. Gabriela's story is over. My story continues." In 2024, Diego is 8 years old. He lives like a normal child, plays with his friends, and loves soccer. But with one difference, he has become a symbol. Diego's case led to the reopening of more than 3,200 unsolved murder cases in Mexico. The police began retesting old DNA samples. And surprisingly, in 12 more cases, children's past life memories helped the investigations. Diego's success gave courage to other families. The "If Your Child Talks About Past Life Memories, Listen" campaign began. Debates began again in the scientific world. The most difficult question is Diego or Gabriela? In July 2024, Diego and his family went to the town of Tala. They visited Gabriela's grave. Diego knelt at the grave and said, "Hello, Gabriela. I'm Diego. I'm glad we met. Javier is in prison. You can rest in peace now. I will live for you. I will live a beautiful life. I will be a good person. I promise." As Diego left the grave, he turned back to look. The wind was blowing. The leaves were dancing. And for the first time, Diego did not hear Gabriela's voice. There was only silence, a peaceful silence. Gabriela was gone. Diego remained.